Okay, so we are on today's main agenda. So what we experienced was just for fun. This is where the real cash prize and everything comes in. We just wanted to know the type of career and profession that our children wanted to, want to pursue in future. But this is the main reason why we are here. We want to know what the children wrote when it comes to child protection. We're going to have a ballet dance just to educate us on child abuse. So the title is, "It Shouldn't Hurt to Be a Child." So please, let's sit back, relax, and then enjoy a ballet dance from our colleague educating us on child abuse.
It shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Please hear my words, it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Run to me, I'll put my arms around you. It shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt to be a child. It shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Please hear my words, it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Run to me, I'll put my arms around you. It shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt to be a child. It shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Please hear my words, it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Run to me, I'll put my arms around you. It shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt to be a child.
The reading starts now. Let's use the podium for the reading. Good. So please. So we start with the junior high school category. So as our team goes, or the topic for today is child protection. Children are going through a lot of things in school, at home, everywhere. But we wanted to know from we the children, what are some of the things that we need people to do for us in terms of when it comes to child protection, child abuse, treatism, and education as well. So we will invite the first person by name, Kojo Ba Agbemo from Pentecost School.
Please, my topic was on child rights, a child's defender. Child rights are the human rights of a child. Every child, regardless of their age, race, gender, wealth, or birthplace has rights. These rights are enshrined internationally by the United Nations into brackets UN and the country the child is located in. Some examples of such rights are the rights to education, the rights to be heard, the rights to basic needs, and many others. Every child's rights can be found in their country's constitution. A constitution is a set of laws used to govern a country. There are some things that infringe on a child's rights. Some of them are child abuse, child labor, child trafficking, and many more. Child abuse are the intentional acts that result in the physical and emotional harm of children. There are types of abuse. They are physical abuse, sexual abuse, and emotional abuse. Physical abuse includes the deliberate act of violence that injures or even kills a child. Sexual abuse occurs when an adult uses children for sexual gratification into brackets satisfaction or expose them to sexual activities. Sexual abuse can begin with kissing or fondling their bodies and progress into intrusive sexual activities such as oral sex or sex itself. Emotional abuse is the abuse that involves shouting, threats, and humiliating criticism that destroys a child's self-esteem. Child labor is when children do work whilst they are supposed to be in school. These children can be used for fishing, herding cattle, and many more. Children who are victims of child labor can also be victims of child trafficking. This is sad because most of these children...
Thank you very much. Okay, so the next person is Prince Asari Niama. Please. Atomic Hills 2 Basic School. He's in JHS 2.
My topic was types and effects of child abuse. The world is a beautiful place to live in. It is the biggest blessing by the Almighty God. We humans have a great responsibility towards it. One auspicious element of human life and the world is childhood. Children are said to be the backbone and treasure of the future. Children are not just the hope of the future, but also instrumentals that maintain the current happy status. These young ones are the betterment of the world, a time to come. Children play a great role in our society and thereby must be respected. Well, some wicked people will treat children to take undue advantage in the society. There are evil-minded people as well as saints and positive people who are ready to love and spread brotherhood. There are also some selfish people who think only about themselves. These people are self-centered. One obnoxious or unpleasant act some people do is that they involve their children in employment activities. Their activities are mining, construction works, etc. They dominate the lives of these children and take their childhood away from them. Children are abused in many ways. These are physical, emotional, sexual, and neglect. Physical abuse is one of the most common abuse children experience in their everyday lives. It also refers to the non-accident harm caused by parents or caregivers to their children. These include hitting the child, slapping the child, etc. This also occurs when there is excessive caning of the child. This leaves marks and scars on the body of the child. The mark deforms the beauty of the body. Secondly, we have sexual abuse, and this is when a child is forced to have sex with someone. A child can be sexually abused when he or she is controlled to arouse the feelings of someone. Again, some children are abused emotionally. This is a very dangerous abuse that can lead to suicide. This occurs when children are called names.
So next person, Munta Wakilu.
My title was Child Protection, How It Can Be Made Possible in Ghana. As the saying goes, and I quote, there is time for everything, so surely children will grow up to become adults, unquote. When a child is not protected, he ends up facing devastating problems in future. Child protection refers to the various initiatives taken to safeguard children from abuse and neglect. Abuse comes in many forms, some of which include physical, verbal, sexual, and psychological. Child abuse occurs when a child is abused and neglected. The UN Convention of the Rights of the Child states in Article 19, children need to be protected in and out of home, but most Ghanaians do not see it as a necessity. Children who are not protected face a lot of problems, some of which include physical harm, depression, learning disorders, lack of social skills, and even suicide. Nevertheless, children who are not protected normally find themselves miserable. Their studies get terminated because of the bizarre nature of things on their mind, and sadly, some take their own lives. Further, there are many ways by which child protection can be made possible, some of which include parents spending more time with kids, law enforcement, supporting outreach programs, and disciplining kids in reasonable ways. Passionate critics, however, will sarcastically appeal that the Bible states, and I quote, spare the rod and spoil the child, unquote. However, most people misunderstand this statement. Come on, should you hit your child to the extent that he bleeds or dies?
Spare the rod and spoil the child. Thank you very much, Wakilu. Thank you. So next person is Educhuma Amapepra.
Child abuse and protection. The world is a beautiful place to live in. In fact, it is one of the biggest blessings given to us by God, and therefore we must strive to protect its integrity and beauty. An auspicious element of human life as well as the world is children. Childhood is the most memorable part of everyone's life. It is that part of life which we wish we could revisit over and over. All the friends we make, the bonds we share, and the memories are priceless. However, not every child is blessed to have a child filled with butterflies. Some children face harsh realities which directly or indirectly compel them to fall prey to child abuse. Child abuse is any form of mistreatment or harm intentionally meted out to any individual who is under the age of 18 years. As per the report presented by UNICEF in the year 2020, 1 in 10 children are subjected to child abuse. Mathematically, this amounts to 152 million children suffering from child abuse in the world. Child abuse comes in many forms and mostly happen at the same time. Some forms of child abuse include physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal or psychological abuse. Undoubtedly, physical abuse is the most common form of child abuse. Physical abuse involves the act of intentionally or non-accidentally inflicting pain or injury on an individual. These acts may include hitting with an object, slapping, kicking, just to mention a few. Physical abuse causes its victims to feel unsafe and may adversely cause the vital organs of their body to be injured. Examples of such injuries are brain hemorrhage, internal neurological bleeding, etc. Physical abuse also leaves scars and negative dermatological marks on the skins of its victims, mostly invisible, but one of the lethal ways to destroy a person's self-confidence is through verbal or psychological abuse. This involves the use of harsh derogatory remarks against individuals. It is not only subject to remarks, but also to acts.
Much for your topic or your essay. Next on stage is Danso Akia Abaye.
I wrote on child labor. A child is a young individual below the age of puberty or below the age of maturity, according to the Oxford Dictionary. Labor, on the other hand, refers to that which requires hard work for its accomplishment. According to the International Labour Organization, ILO, child labor is defined as work which deprives children of their childhood, potentials, and dignity, and that is harmful to mental and physical development. Child labor does not only deprive a child of his or her childhood, but also ruins his or her entire life. Some children are forced to work at tender ages. This ruins the lives of those children.
This is the time to educate the child so that he or she can grow and find better opportunities to excel in his or her life. To commence with, poor homes is one of the major causes of child labor. This occurs as a result of the economic hardship of the parents. Some children are forced to sell bread, such as water and so on the streets. Sometimes they work tirelessly on the streets a whole day without even getting any proper food to eat. They sometimes work in the hot sun. Some children are even sent away by their parents to work as house helps in other people's houses in order to get money to survive the family.
In order to gain money to support their parents. So next on stage is Ochre Mame Chewa from Atomic Hills 2 Basic School. She's in JHS 2.
I'm Ochre Mamechewa, child protection, protecting the lives of Ghanaian children from child abuse. Children are vulnerable, tender and small, and largely depend on adults. The future of every child depends on the care, facilities, and opportunities they get during their childhood. Consequently, children do not get what they need to grow to become the expected worthy citizens of the country. Some children face harsh treatment in the home, society, and the nation, which makes them insecure wherever they find themselves. They face abuses which also makes them depressed. Some of the abuses children face in everyday life include physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, cultural abuse, economical abuse, as well as child labor. Children are abused physically when someone intentionally causes injury or trauma to them. This may come in the form of beating, biting, and caning them. Where physical abuse is causing harm to a child physically through body contact. Emotional abuse is a non-physical abuse which makes children timid, frightened, and insecure in society. Also, children are abused mentally. That is, they are insulted, demeaned, and rejected, which makes them doubt their abilities, skills, and talents. Aside that, children are abused sexually in the form of rape or defilement. This is normally experienced by the girl child who are weak and cannot fight for themselves.
Let's clap for her. So the next person is Noko Taonga Odonko.
My name is Noko and I'm 15 years old. Child abuse, the coronavirus that is being neglected. We are all aware of the deadly coronavirus which affected the world drastically. Well, child abuse is deadly to millions of children worldwide, and it is something we still neglect up to today. Child abuse is any physical, sexual, or psychological maltreatment done to a child. This essay explores how child abuse affects the lives of children. Firstly, child abuse. Children who are abused often get suicidal or self-harming thoughts. Children who are abused sexually or physically may tend to have thoughts to either kill themselves or to escape from the pain they go through. For example, a girl who is sexually abused by her uncle may cause her to have thoughts of ending her life. She would experience so much pain to the extent of killing herself. She may either hang herself, drown, or poison herself. It is also hurting. It is so hurting because of child abuse. She sees no reason to even be alive. Secondly, children who are abused would find it difficult to socialize with people. Child abuse goes a long way to affect the social life of children. Having flashbacks when certain events reoccur from the child abuse they experience causes them to limit themselves from people. They have issues with trust and understanding. With time, they become isolated due to the frequent flashbacks of child abuse. For example, Kojo, who was physically abused at the age of 7, left with so many scars on his body, keeps reminding him of the trauma he went through.
The trauma he went through. So let's clap for Noko. Okay, so the next person is Jones K. Afavi.
I'm Jones and I'm 13 years of age. My essay is titled An HD Experience of Child Abuse. Have you ever paused for a second to consider the fact that children in your own country are being molested? Have you ever wondered how your life would be like if you were a victim of child abuse? Child abuse is any form of physical, mental, emotional, or psychological attack on a child. It lowers the child's esteem and reduces the confidence of the child. Here is a real life story of a victim of child abuse. I quite remember that before I moved to Accra with my parents from the village of Kleko, I had a friend named Cynthia. That's a nice name for a girl, isn't it? Well, it was such a pity that the person herself looked terribly miserable than her name. Cynthia was the firstborn of her mother, but the thirdborn of her father. Her mother died upon her birth. Ever since she was 5, she lived in horror and sorrow. Why? Because her stepmother continued to torment her, and her father never gave a damn. Her stepmother had a special stick big enough the size of a pistol, which she used to beat Cynthia anytime she had gone wrong. Well, it is not every time she went wrong though. But the hatred her stepmother had for her is what made her to continuously find petty reasons to beat Cynthia. I remember that the wicked woman once slapped her and gave her a hell of a beating just because Cynthia left some wash bowls on the kitchen table instead of arranging them in the cabinet. Despite all this, Cynthia remained obedient yet sorrowful. She was the one who cooked for the whole family to eat. She was the one who washed her own clothes, those of her father's, and sometimes as punishment, those of her 2 stepbrothers. Cynthia remained ever meek and humble, adhering to every instruction given by her cruel stepmother. In spite of that, she never stopped receiving her usual beatings.
Please, let's clap for. Okay. Then the next person is Maateki Adom Agri.
My name is Madeki Agu, and I am 13 years of age. My topic is Stop Child Infringement. One issue that has generated a lot of public discussions in recent times is child protection. It is in view of this that there is the need to protect children. First of all, child protection refers to the measures and structures to prevent and respond to abuses, neglect, exploitation, and violence affecting children. What the UN or United Nations and the Constitution say about child protection is that a child shall not be subjected to torture or other cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment. Also, a child has a right to non-violent upbringing, prohibiting corporal punishment and the infliction of mental suffering. Some child abuses include domestic violence, child labor, sexual abuse, child trafficking, etc. It is because of this that governments over the years have established the Ministry of Child and Gender Protection to protect children from these abuses. Furthermore, children need to be protected because if you see a child, you see the next generation of the world in him or her. Children need to be protected because in every community or the nation at large, it is a child that needs to be protected in order for the children to grow well and become good and patriotic citizens to promote human resource and the nation's development. Additionally, children are the building blocks of every nation's development. There is a saying which states that the character of every society and country is revealed in children. Hence, children must be protected. It should not hurt to be a child. Children must be treated fairly and equally.
It should not hurt to be a child. So please, let's clap for her. The next person, Elsie Nana Kunedu Asante.
The essay I'm about to read is entitled Prevention of Child Abuse. Child abuse is not just physical violence directed at a child. It is any form of maltreatment by an adult which is violent or threatening to the child. In 2013, the UNICEF Child Protection Research report indicates that when children were being asked about their experience on physical discipline, over 57% of the respondents into bracket age 14 to 17 years said they were beaten at home, and 34% said they were beaten at school all the time or sometimes. To begin with, child protection is safeguarding of a child from violence, exploitation, abuse, and neglect. In Ghana, the UNICEF works to reduce the number of abuse in the country and that of a child in and out of their homes. Article 19 of the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child
provides for the protection of children in and out of their homes, schools, and community at large. There are therefore 5 principles of protection, namely child development and survival, non-discrimination, best interest of the child, and child participation.
Thank you very much. So Edmond, let's see you on stage.
My name is Edmond and I'm 14 years of age. The article I'm about to read is titled Child Protection, Securing Our Future's Development by Ending Child Abuse. There comes a time in one's life when he or she has to make one critical decision, whether to have children or not. Children are gifts from God, but they require a lot of responsibilities to be performed by the parents. However, most parents fail their parental duties and even maltreat their children. This is termed as child abuse. According to the World Health Organization, child abuse is defined as, quote, all forms of physical and or emotional ill treatment, sexual abuse, neglect or negligent behavior, commercial or other exploitations, which result in actual or potential harm to the child's health, survival, development, or dignity. It's one of the biggest social problems we face globally and have been present in human history for centuries.
Now moving straight to the basic side, we have Christiana Akosia Enchi Danso from CAF International School. She's in Basic 5.
My name is Christiana Akosia Inchidanso, and the title of my essay is Child Protection. Child protection is something that a lot of children all over the world need. According to Wikipedia, child protection is the act of taking good care of someone below the age of 18 years. In our society today, there is a lot of child abuse going on, and it is not a good thing. Child abuse is the crime or the act of harming a child below 18 years in any possible way. It is said that children are the future generation. If we are protecting children, it also means that we are protecting our future generation. Globally, there is an estimated number of 360,000 children being born every day. The devastating part about all of this is that about 30% of children around the world die because of child abuse. Child protection is very important in today's world because we need to keep our future generation away from harm.
Okay, thank you very much. So next is Shanice Lukayatu from Zoe International School. She's in Basic 4.
My topic is Education on Child Abuse and its Protection. According to Children's Act 560 of 1998, a child is a person below the age of 18 years. Child abuse is when adults intentionally treat children in a cruel and violent way. Children should be protected from violence, discrimination, abuse, neglect, and exploitation. The following are examples of child abuse, and they are child inquiry, child infection, and streetism, and also child labor, etc. In protecting the child, the Children's Act 560 of 1998 has said that no parent should deprive the child's welfare, and also parents should not subject a child to cultural practices. Parents should give their child quality education so that they can become responsible citizens in future.
Thank you very much. So next is Pamela Akosia Ativo from Zoe International School.
Why child protection should be valued. There are a lot of children suffering from child abuse, causing them to death or illness. A child is a young human being below puberty or below the legal age majority. Protection is the process of keeping someone or something safe from harm. Child protection is the process of keeping a young human safe from harm. There are a lot of abuses people do to children. These are some of the abuses. Children are beaten severely by others, and this is not all. They are also raped by bad people, making them pregnant. Parents and caregivers should stand firm to find ways to protect their kids, or else their kids will be in the hands of bad people. Parents should be able to find a way to protect their kids, and these are some of the ways. Parents now know that children of nowadays are really naughty. So what they should do is to tell their kids that they should not allow some people to touch some parts of their body. And the parts are buttocks, breasts, and etc. Especially for the female kids.
So next person is Zelda Irabna Quist.
My name is Zelda Quiz. My topic is child protection. The future depends on us. Children are gifts from God, so they need to be nurtured, loved, respected, and most of all, they need to be protected. The rights of children appear to be the least contentious human rights in most parts of the world, even though it tries to protect children from abuse, exploitation, and violence. There are many obstacles to improving children's protection from violence, abuse, and exploitation. Traditional practices are one. Others range from a lack of national capacity to the absence of the rule of law. Child abuse is a major obstacle in the way of child protection because in 1999, the majority of children appeared to be victims of the ongoing abuse. The term child abuse covers different ranges of behavior, from physical assault by a guardian to neglecting a child. So, what is child abuse and child protection? Child abuse is any type of maltreatment directed at a child. Child protection, on the other hand, is the act of preventing a child from being abused, exploited, and hurt.
Let's clap for her. Charlotte Echampong, you are next.
Protecting our future. The importance of eradicating on child abuse. Child abuse is a pernicious and ubiquitous phenomenon that afflicts countless young lives across the globe. It manifests in a variety of forms, including physical, emotional, sexual, and neglectful abuse, and can cause deep and enduring scars on a child's physical and mental well-being. As the old adage goes, it takes a village to raise a child, highlighting the importance of a supportive community, nation, and the world at large. It is therefore incumbent. The effect of child abuse is not limited on the victims themselves. The damage inflicted on innocent and defenseless can reverberate throughout society, hindering the economic and social progress of the community, nation, and the world at large. It is therefore incumbent upon us all to fight against this heinous crime and work to eradicate it from our midst. Below are some measures that can be considered in our quest to protect our children from abuse. To inspire action. One of the ways of protecting children from abuse is by raising awareness.
So thank you very much. So let's clap for her. The next person, Ohene Kakari.
My name is Ohene Kakari Ambab. I am 9 years old. I wrote on the topic on child protection. Child abuse is any form of maltreatment by an adult, which is violence for a child. Child abuse is a very serious problem that continues to happen all over the world. The Federal Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act defines child abuse as a failure to act as a parent or caregiver, which results in physical or emotional harm, sexual abuse, and in some cases death. There are different types of child abuse such as physical, emotional, neglect, and sexual. There are warning signs that are needed to be spotted before it is too late. When a child is abused, there is a huge possibility that can have many long-term effects. To begin with, emotional abuse is an abuse that can hurt a child psychologically. The reason why it can hurt a child psychologically is because it damages the way he or she looks at himself or herself. There are different ways, include name calling, degrading a child. Calling a child stupid or worthless is a form of verbal abuse, which is under emotional abuse. Caregivers may also constantly blame the child for things that is not even their fault.
Thank you very much. So let's clap for him. So the next person is Inshira Therefore Erekia from Mother's Glory Educational Complex. Wager.
My name is Inshira Erekia, therefore I am 9 years old. I wrote on the topic of protecting children from abuse. Often when we hear of child abuse, the reigning thoughts in our heads are child molestation and child labor. There are different forms of child abuse which needs to be brought to light, critically looked at, and also be addressed so that we as children can feel safe and protected. Many actions by parents and teachers make them abuse without the abusers even knowing they are abusing the child. Let us take a look at this. Some parents and teachers use strong and negative words towards children. This is negatively impact them and reducing their self-confidence. When children make mistakes or perform poorly in school, all you need to do as a parent or a teacher is to draw the child closer and correct the child or speak to the child, but other teachers and guardians do otherwise, which seriously affects the child emotionally and psychologically. Also, some of our cultural practices take away the worth and value of our young girls. A practice like the female genital mutilation can make a child bleed to death, taking away her right to life. The least said about surrogacy and early marriage in some cultures, the better. How can a person below 18 years, a child for that matter, be forced into marriage? Such dangerous cultural practices should be banned because they torment children emotionally.
In fact, she is a narrator. Yes, she is a narrator. Thank you very much. Inshira Therefore. Rita Tofa from Amaya Community School. She's in Basic 6.
My name is Rita Tofa. My topic is child abuse, the feely experience of what some children go through. Child abuse is regarded as the treatment that a child under the age of 18 goes through, which is hurtful or threatening to the child's life. Child abuse comes in many forms. Some of them are physical abuse, emotional or psychological abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, etc. In case you have not had any experience of child abuse or don't have any idea about it, follow me as I take you to a feely experience. Nandede is a beautiful young child who lives with her father in a village of Kumasi. He was the only parent she was staying with. Life as well wasn't easy for them. Her mother left them when her father lost his job, leaving her in the care of her father, Mr. Nimo. Nandede's father was a drunkard, and he made sure that he abuses the little girl whenever he gets the chance. At times, when he comes home from drinking sport, he releases all his stress and anger on Nandede by beating her, kicking her, and at times call her all kinds of names. Nandede became fed up with her father's treatment. Nandede became fed up with the treatment she was going through, so she ran away from home and started living on the streets with other children. At times, she has to steal or sleep with older men to get money to feed herself, and later became pregnant. Knowing that she cannot take care of both the baby herself and also can't go back to her father, she decided to end her life, which she did by jumping into a sea. These are some of the feely experience that children face. There are many people like Nandede out there being abused.
So these are some of the feely experience. That children's face. Wow. So 80 plus, they have the Philly experience in Rita Toffel's essay. Thank you very much. Please let's clap for her. The next person is Deladem Joseph from Atomic Hills Basic 2 or 2 Basic School.
Joseph Deladem is my name, and the topic I wrote on was child abuse and some institutions which can help fight child abuse. Child abuse is an action done to inflict pain into a child. There are many forms of child abuse. This is emotional, physical, verbal, cultural, sexual, and etc. Emotional abuse is mostly not seen but can harm a child. Emotional abuse is the abuse where people or adults hurt the feelings or emotions of children or a child. This can make the child lose confidence and can also make the child feel useless. This can lead to mental illness. Physical abuse is the abuse where a child is hurt through slapping, pushing, pinching, and etc. This abuse can lead to pain and death. It might leave a scar on the child for years. Cultural abuse is a type of abuse where a child is underestimated because of his or her culture, language, and etc. This abuse is mostly found in schools. Teachers do not allow their children or students to give opinions because of their culture, religion, or language. Sexual abuse is a type of abuse which forces a child to have sex or be involved in sexual activities. Examples are forcing a child to watch pornography on the internet, showing pictures or images of naked people to a child.
Thank you, Deladem. Please, let's put our hands together for Deladem. Thank you. We are moving on to the last person, Sefa Wendy. Let's put our hands together for Sefa Wendy as she comes to read.
Protection from the perils of child abuse. Protecting children from harm and neglect is a crucial societal concern, as the maltreatment of these vulnerable ones can pose deleterious effects on their physical and mental well-being. As Albert Einstein once said, the world is a dangerous place to live, not because of those who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it. Child abuse encompasses a wide range of harmful actions, including physical, sexual, emotional, and neglectful behaviors, and can range from mild to severe in its impact. Child protection, on the other hand, is the safeguarding of children from abuse and ensuring that they are able to grow up in a safe and nurturing environment. It is imperative to educate parents and caregivers about the dangers of child abuse and how to prevent it, as well as to support those who have been afflicted by it. By so doing, we can create a more conducive world for our young ones to thrive in. Just as the saying goes, prevention is better than cure. Below are some of the dangers of child abuse and some suggested remedies of curbing them. To set the ball rolling, child abuse leads to inferiority complex among children. When a child is abused physically, emotionally, or even sexually, the child feels inferior to his or her peers. Why am I saying this? Take for instance, a girl who is constantly insulted by her mother with the saying, "You are too ugly." This undoubtedly poses an emotional threat to the girl child. The girl tends to shy away from anything relating to beauty. Where the situation gets worse, the girl could be found isolating herself from her peers. This has caused most children of this generation to lose their self-confidence. To prevent all these undesired consequences, parents must learn to use appropriate language when addressing their children. Instead of using such an abusive language as exemplified above, the mother could have said, "Look at her beautiful face," with a cheerful smile, not with the intention of pampering the child, but with the intention of not emotionally abusing the girl child. Wondering how? Well, let me elaborate. Child abuse, which may also take the form of neglect, could lead to violence and its attendant risks. Parents who neglect their children abuse their rights. This is because all the three main religions in Ghana, namely Christian, Islamic, and traditional religion, completely disagree with the neglectful parenting, as it does not only abuse their rights, but also indicates a violation of the scriptures and oral traditions. In fact, Ephesians chapter 6 verse 4 says, Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but rather bring them up in the discipline and instructions of the Lord. Parents who shirk their responsibilities of nurturing their children to become responsible individuals. The children become wayward, and this has punished our nation by increasing crime rates and other social vices. Just as the saying goes, charity begins at home. Parents must do well to nurture
Thank you so much, Sefa Wendy. Let's put our hands, let's do it better for her. And thank you all our contestants. As you can see, this is what they wrote. This is what they presented. So at the end of the day, when the results are announced, we will all bear witness that indeed this is what they wrote and this is what has given them the marks that they've been given. Thank you. Let's put our hands together for them once again. They've all done well. At this stage, we will invite somebody from AD Plus to give us a demonstration of the AD Plus decoder. Let's put our hands together and receive him, please.
There are more features that you would have to experience it for yourself. Although he mentioned them in his speech, there are some of them I'm going to display to you for you to understand what the plus we attach to HD actually means. So he mentioned the PVR service, which is the recording service, which comes with the box. So all you need is a flash drive or a pen drive with at least 4 gig space on it. Please make sure it's empty, because once you put it in, the device will ask you to format it. Okay, so now with my pen drive in, you all see what they are showing. It's something that is currently being streamed everywhere in Ghana that has access to the JNTV Junior Show. So if I realize I want to keep watching it, but I have to go do something else, all I can do at this point is to just press the pause button and the show freezes. Without a pen drive plugged in, it won't pause. It will keep running. So once you press the pause with your pen drive in, the show freezes. So whilst it's frozen, it's still being played elsewhere, but for you, it's being recorded on your pen drive. So if you realize you have to go back or you have to continue from where they stopped, now you've caught up to everybody else. And also, if you know they are going to show something tomorrow, we have something called an EPG. It's short for electronic program data. It gives you access to content that will be shown 7 days ahead. So you can pause something or you can record something that will be shown in 2 hours time. And that's how you do it. So you scroll to, let's say, HD Plus Kids Arm Wrestling. You know at that time you'll be busy, you might miss it. So you select it, and then you get the option to record. So you just press record here, and then in your absence, whether you're home or not, it will be recorded for you. So that's one of the amazing features of the HD Plus decoder. And also, the show that is running currently, I know I'm going to miss it because I have to go to town. So all I have to do is press the record button. It will start recording. But you always have to make sure your decoder stays on. You can turn off the TV, but never turn off the decoder. That way, your content will be recorded for you. And also, with the app that you get free data to watch for up to 12 hours every month, there's something we call the catch-up service. Let's say you failed to record a program yesterday. With the app on your phone, you can go back 48 hours and then watch everything that happened over the last 48 hours on your phone. So this way, you never have to miss a thing. So HD stands for high definition, plus is for all the amazing services we add to it for you. So thank you, and let's look forward to our winners.
Feely, feely, I need to see 'em. Feely, 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 I need to see 'em. Feely, 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 see 'em. Feely, 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 feely.
Hey, world class TV viewing experience. Charlie, see it as if you did there. Affordable subscriptions to fit every pocket. Every pocket, Charlie, every pocket. Go get your own. Give me to I get my own. And every part I do well, then get your own. And get your own. You go be set, you go be box, you go be rewind and record all. And record all.
Now you just see 'em. Feely, 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 feely. Feely, 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 feely. Feely, 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 feely. Feely, 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 feely.
For one side, y'all don't try. Yeah, my make it short. Yeah, I be you with the vibe. We do for one shot. Y'all don't try. Yeah, my make it short. Yeah, I be you with the vibe. So we the carry first, here for Ghana. If you with it, Mosi Jama, make you no carry